Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing with you my experience and a review on Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within seminar. Exactly 1 week ago the seminar finished. It was a 4-day event in Sydney at the Kudos Bank Arena, and it was an amazing experience, and I'm going to break down the 4 days roughly and just share with you what I learned. I didn't film in the seminar very much at all because we weren't allowed to bring cameras. So if you want to see just tiny snippets of the seminar, I did film a little bit on my Instagram story. It's in the highlights, but that is all I filmed. The rest of the time I was focusing and listening and writing notes. So I don't have much to share in that sense, but I wanted to be really present while I was there. But you do get given this booklet here, and yeah, it's full of loads of information and questions to fill out while you're there. I personally brought my own notebook as well, and I wrote in my notebook, and then when I got home from the seminar, then I filled this in because I felt like I would learn more if I wrote down the questions, and just got a bit messy with all my notes, and I've since rewritten them all out quite neatly. So yeah, I've got pages and pages of notes from the seminar. And yeah, I love to read back on it all because just reading little bits reminds me of huge portions of the seminar where we talked for hours about certain topics. So yeah, day 1 was an introduction to the seminar, of course, and then it was all about preparing yourself to get in a particular state so that we could then walk on fire. So that's a main thing that you do at the seminars, you walk on fire. And I actually did that, and I cannot believe that. So all that first day is getting you in a certain state of mind to believe you can do that and just have the ability to do that. And it's crazy to think that everyone did it, and there were 7,500 people at the seminar. So on day 1 we talked a lot about fears. Everyone has fears, and the 2 most common ones that people have to some degree is fear that they're not enough and fear that they won't be loved. And those 2 fears drive and stop people in so many ways, which was really crazy to realize how true that is. And to change your state, you have to change your physiology. So basically, to be in a good state, you can tell how someone's feeling based on their physiology. You know, are their shoulders shrugged, looking down, or is their back, you know, straight and upright and smiling? Like, that's your physiology. So if you change that, you change how you feel, as well as your language and your meaning. So what you're saying and how you're saying it with your tone of voice and the words you use says a lot about how you're feeling. And then the third thing is your focus. So what are you focusing on? If you change those 3 things, you change how you feel. So that was the main thing we were learning on day 1, because we had to change all 3 of those things to walk on fire, and we did that. We also talked about different types of communication, and we talked about the 6 human needs. I'm just going to very quickly explain them. So there's 6 human needs that everyone has, and depending on how you order them will be the driving force of what makes your decisions. So there's the need for certainty. Everyone has a need for certainty. There's the need for uncertainty. Everyone has a need for variety or uncertainty in their life. Everyone also has the need for significance in some shape or form. And then everyone also has the need for love and connection. And then the last 2 needs are the needs of the spirit. So not everyone reaches these 2 needs, but they're crucially important if you want to be fulfilled, and yet they are the most important, and that is growth and contribution. If you're not growing, you're dying. It is so important to grow in your life in all areas, and giving is the secret to living, really. Like, giving back to others and giving to people you love, and even giving to yourself, is very, very important. I don't want to go in too much depth though, because it's something he actually devotes an entire day to at his big seminar, because it is so important. So we just briefly touched on it, plus I have so many notes on it. But if you want to learn a lot about that, just Google the 6 human needs by Tony Robbins. It is so interesting. So everyone has a way to meet all of those needs, whether it's a positive, negative or neutral way. And it was very interesting to work out what my top 2 driving needs were, and you can change them. And that is something I'm in the process of doing, because I realized that one of the needs that I was putting first isn't really serving me in many ways. So I'm changing that up consciously and making sure that I'm using my needs in positive ways and not negative. So basically, I can tell how someone's life will turn out more or less based on what their driving force is, like their top need basically. So that was super interesting that we spent some time on that. And then yeah, at the end of that day, we walked on fire, which is crazy. So that was day 1. Day 2 was talking about how to actually change and create lasting change, which is really important. We also talked a lot about momentum and how important it is to keep going and not give up. And we also went through a process to find out what we're passionate about and what our passion and purpose is. So that was really interesting. So it was about looking where you are, where you want to be, and then closing the gap that's in between that. So that was a really interesting process. Day 3 was transformation day. This day was intense. We talked a lot about how to live an extraordinary life and the differences between living a good life, an excellent life, and an extraordinary life. That was really interesting. We talked a lot about our values, and we worked out what our values are. There are towards values and away from values. And we also talked about our beliefs, and this was the biggest part about day 3. Tony took us through a process called the Dickens process, which is all about your limiting beliefs and your empowering beliefs. So changing your limiting beliefs and realizing what they are and transforming them into empowering beliefs. This was the most intense part of the entire seminar, because the process was just crazy but so powerful, so powerful. It literally changed people's lives within the space of half an hour, like changed the course of people's lives. So basically, we had to write down 3 beliefs we currently have that were struggles for us or wasn't serving us really. And I'm actually happy to share mine, because I no longer believe them in any shape or form. So it just feels like it's not even a part of me anymore. And that's why I'm happy to share it, because it's no longer a personal thing for me, because I've overcome it, which is like really crazy to think about, because it's things that I held on to for such a long time without even realizing, and it shaped the way I thought about things, because a belief is really just something you feel certain about. So it's just a thought that you keep thinking. So anyways, my first belief was I won't find love again, and that I wasn't lovable, which is absolutely crazy. And I just laugh at my previous limiting beliefs now, and I've changed that to I am worthy of love. And obviously that sounds really simple, but the process we went through was so intense that I can no longer think the other way. The second limiting belief I had was I'm not good enough to be successful, and so that limited me in so many ways, to the point that I actually, every time I did achieve something or did do something well, I pushed it down and found reasons to sort of justify why it wasn't actually that big of a deal. And I did that with everything, and I'll get onto that a little bit later. And so I basically just changed that to I am successful, like I am successful right now. That's not saying I'm perfect or I've made it or anything, but I'm doing things that are successful and I feel successful inside, which is the mindset I need to actually become more successful. And then my third and final limiting belief was I'm bad at everything and I'm bad at making decisions. And sure enough, I was bad at making decisions, and I did feel like I was bad at everything. So in a lot of cases, I did come last in things, or didn't do well, or I gave up, and just, yeah, felt like I generally wasn't good enough in anything. And it always put me down. So that mindset was really detrimental, and I've changed that to I can do anything that I put my mind to. So yeah, I can't believe I transformed them, and that was crazy. And that was through this particular process where the lights went dark, and think there's almost 8,000 people in the room, and we had to close our eyes, and we basically had to, like Tony was talking and guiding through the process, and it was so intense, but we had to picture in our minds how our life would be if we continued to have those negative beliefs. Like, we had to think of the most painful things to the point that you just can't stand it anymore, and you have to change your belief. So that was really interesting. Like, people were screaming and crying. I personally didn't do that. And again, back to my limiting belief, I thought, is there something wrong with me, seeing as, you know, so many people are crying and I'm not? Like, do I not have feelings? What's going on? But really, I was in my head too much. I had to really think about the limiting beliefs more rather than focusing on other people crying and stuff. But yeah, it was so intense. People were literally crying everywhere. But it worked. Like, people changed their beliefs because of that, because holding on to those beliefs was so painful and didn't serve us and actually ruined your life that you didn't want to hold on to them anymore. So that's what I did, and that was crazy. And then we also just talked about the path to mastery and like business strategies and stuff like that. So that was super interesting on day 3 and so life-changing. And then day 4 was all about health and energy. So basically the whole time we just talked about everything basically in your body, like different foods to eat. There was a 10-day challenge that was explained, and it's all in the book that I can do, which I'm going to do. And just the importance of water and how to get energy properly, and the 12 principles for a vital life, and how to heal your body basically. So that was really important, and I've realized, I know that drinking water is super important, but I wasn't really doing it, and now I am, because I've just got so much more awareness about how important that actually is. And also I understand how water goes through the body and what type of water is good for you, and you know, the negative sides of certain foods and stuff like that. So that was super interesting. So that was the 4 days in a nutshell. I didn't share everything because there was a lot. Like, I did 50 hours worth of learning at that seminar. So it's crazy, but it's all in my book, and I have so many notes of it as well. And also, we talked a lot about the power of immersion. Like, you have to be immersed in the area. And he wasn't talking about the seminar, he was just talking about immersion with different things. But it's very true. Like, if you want to get this experience, yeah, all this knowledge is out there. Like, there are so many blog posts on Tony Robbins and so many people doing videos on it, and there's so many videos of him at seminars. But if you really want to learn this stuff in a different way, you have to be at the seminar, surrounded by all the people and in that energy. It makes such a difference. So I can easily share all my notes, but you just won't get the same impact you will unless you were at the seminar surrounded by all those people and Tony himself. So it was crazy, because I followed him casually for a few years now, like watching a lot of his videos. I've read all his books, everything like that. But nothing could compare to actually being at the seminar. It was so powerful, mainly just because you're surrounded by like-minded people that are just so energetic and ready to change. And then, yeah, everyone's just in an amazing state. And yeah, it was crazy. I would highly recommend, if any of this is even somewhat interesting to you and you want to take your life to the next level or work out what your limiting beliefs are, it helps so much to actually be at the seminar. So now I'm just going to say a couple of my favorite takeaways. Again, there are so many, so I'm just going to say a few that really are stuck in my mind. The first one is, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. And it sounds so simple, and a lot of the things Tony says are so simple. That's because he says that complexity destroys everything. Like, if it's too complicated, people aren't going to follow through and not going to do it. So everything he says is so simple, and it makes it easy to remember as well. So yeah, he basically says, if you're not doing it, you don't know it. And that just means, like, yeah, everyone knows to drink a lot of water. Everyone knows exercise is good for you. Everyone knows sleep is good for you. But are you actually doing it? Because if you don't, then you don't know it, because knowledge is only potential power. It's only powerful if you actually use it. Like, just knowing exercise is good for me isn't going to get me fit and healthy. Doing the exercise will get me fit and healthy. So that's just a little example. So I found that to be really important. It's helped me to remember to walk my talk and actually do the things I learn about and I know are important, because if I'm not doing it, like, it's basically just dead knowledge inside of me. Like, it's not doing anything and it's not benefiting my life just to know it. So that was a bit of a wake-up call to actually take action and do the things I know I'm supposed to do. Number 2 is you can change how you feel in a single moment. Sometimes it's easier than others, but it's a real challenge if you're not in a good state. But it's up to you. You choose how you feel. You can change your state in a single moment, and that is so amazing to realize. Like, that's so crazy that just like that, I can change my state, and I know exactly how to now because of the processes we went through. Like, I know what works for me to put me in a good state, and I make sure I do that every single morning to start my day off right. Everyone can do it differently, but I have my way, and as long as it puts me in a good state, that's all that matters. Number 3 is everything you do is shaped by your beliefs. So what you believe in will shape your life because it drives your decisions and your thoughts, which then turns into emotions, and your emotions is how you're gonna feel because it's what you're focusing on. So if you change your beliefs, you change your life, because your beliefs is your story about how you are and who you are. So if you change that, you change everything. And that's what we did. We changed our belief systems from limiting beliefs that literally limit us from our full potential to empowering beliefs. And that was a crazy experience. And then something else that again is common sense, and I've heard this before, but now I see the true importance of it, and that is who you spend the most time with will have a huge impact and influence on your life. So choose your peers wisely. Like, choose your friends so wisely, because it does make such a difference. And that was a huge wake-up call to me and just has made me think quite a bit. Next thing is to change your shoulds. You know, I should exercise, I should walk more, I should see this person, I should do this course, into musts. Change it into something you must do, because when you must do it, you actually do it. But when you say should, it's always tomorrow, next week, next month, next year, and it never happens because you're not taking action in the moment. If you don't take action on a decision in the moment, your brain will convince you not to. It'll change your mind. So if you change your shoulds into musts, everything changes. It's amazing. Another big thing that I learned is to not settle. You know, raise the bar, step it up, raise your standards. Don't settle for good, don't settle for great, settle for outstanding, extraordinary. Because you can get to that level if you don't settle and you keep pushing yourself. And I think that's so crazy to think about. And he shared so many examples of this, but basically one that I can remember off the top of my head is to get into the Olympics, you have to be outstanding. You can't just be good or great, you have to be the best, you have to be outstanding. And in a running race, if 2 people are running and the person that comes second was 0.01 seconds off, do they get like a large portion of the first prize and they basically both came first? No, they still came second. Even though it was like 0.01 seconds difference, they still came second. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being second at the Olympics, because that's still amazing, but you have to be outstanding to get it all. Like, people remember who came first, not second. So you really have to push yourself and not settle till you're outstanding at what you want to do. That is so crucial. And it was such a big wake-up call and realization, because if you settle, like, yeah, you're settling and you're not going to get the best. Like, the second person doesn't get, you know, all the prizes. The first person gets it all. So yeah, you just have to be that 2mm difference. Successful people are certain on things. They make fast decisions, not slow decisions. Slow decisions equals slow results. And that was huge for me because, as you know, one of my limiting beliefs was I was bad at making decisions. It took me so long. I procrastinated on everything because I wanted to be certain. Like, I wanted to know everything and make sure of things. But you have to be certain and have clarity and just make fast decisions and work out how after. You know, figure out how to get the outcome after, but make fast decisions, because, you know, procrastinating and waiting and being slow just slows things down so much, obviously, and then you have time to put doubt and fear into your mind. So just make decisions, and that's a big one for me, obviously. And one of the huge takeaways I got from this seminar was that I have to be so much kinder to myself. I am so hard on myself all the time. I do amazing things, and like I said with my limiting beliefs before, like I pushed them down because I always told myself I wasn't good enough and I wasn't doing well and I can't be successful. So every time I did achieve something, I just made it into nothing and I pushed it away because I was afraid, really. So I need to have a high standard for myself, and I do. I need to keep that. However, I need to love myself along the way, because if I don't, I'm slowing down my process to succeeding and I'm hurting myself. I'm not going to feel good, and I'm going to eventually fail and give up, because it doesn't feel good to put yourself down all the time, and that is honestly what I was doing. And I have several examples of that because I've clearly been doing this for a long time. But I've changed my ways now and I'm a lot kinder to myself. I'm still going to be hard on myself and push myself, but I'm going to love myself at the same time and actually celebrate and acknowledge achievements that I make along the way. We also had to create an empowering primary question that we ask ourselves every day that can help us in certain areas and stuff like that. I can't remember all the details, but I'm going to read you my empowering question that I read to myself every single day that puts me in a good state and helps me make decisions and live by this question that I ask myself. And that is, how can I live, give and love with courage today to improve my life and others to create the life I deserve and desire? I literally love that. It took a while to sort of create, but in there are certain words that trigger me, like courage and desire and deserve. You know, that it's not just a random question I thought of. A lot of, you'll be able to answer a lot of questions and work out a lot of things before coming up with that. But that personally helps me. And if I ask myself that every day, it's going to help me make better decisions and more positive decisions that help myself and other people. So that was amazing. And I love that question that I created. Now, taking action is one of the most important things that we talked about. It's so important to take immediate, massive action. So I have made some big changes in my life just in the 1 week since coming back from the seminar. They might seem small to you, but for me, there's a lot of reasons behind why I hadn't made these decisions previously. So the fact that I have now is massive. So a big decision that I have made is I have quit my babysitting jobs, and that is something that took up 20 hours a week, and I did it every single week, 5 days a week. And so that's really huge for me to quit that. And I'm still going to do it casually, and I still love babysitting. It's nothing against actually babysitting. It's just that I was very comfortable doing that. I was no longer growing in that area. It was very routine-y. I could do it blindfolded, and I love kids and I love babysitting. But I meant to do more than that. And there are bigger things that, you know, were coming into my life, and I was pushing them away, again, probably because of fear and having doubt, being too scared to do that and not believing I can actually achieve that. And so I didn't take action on all these amazing opportunities because I told myself I had to babysit. So I've actually decided to quit that, so I've got more time to work on what I actually want to do, and that is helping people on a much greater level. And another reason why I didn't quit babysitting before was because I was too scared, and I didn't want to let down the families I look after because I cared so much about them that I didn't put myself first. I put them first. And that was in turn hurting my career because I am ready to get started on that. And yeah, I just wasn't taking action on that. So super glad I've done that. Something else I've changed is I'm very big on personal development, as you'll know if you follow my channel. And so I'm always working on myself. So therefore I'm always asking myself questions. And one of the questions I ask myself a lot is, what will constitute a perfect day for you? And I constantly ask other people that because I find it very fascinating. And one day I was out running with my friend, and he asked me, like, once after I had explained everything that a perfect day would be for me, he's like, so what of those things are you actually doing now? And I froze because most of those things I wasn't actually doing. And honestly, there's no reason why I can't do any of them right now. So yeah, so I'm actually doing those things to create my perfect life. I have no idea why I wasn't doing them before. I had constantly just told myself that it's a future me that's gonna have that perfect life, but I can actually take action right now to create that life. So now I'm actually doing the things that like constitute a perfect day for me. So yeah, crazy to see that like I was going around with such clarity and confidence with what I wanted, but was I actually doing any of those things? No. So that was insane. Something else that has been huge for me is changing my mindset, obviously, because I changed my beliefs. But I just wanted to quickly explain a bit of a story just to give you an idea about how much these beliefs were affecting me. So recently I just ran half a marathon, which I'm really happy about. And after I completed it, I was proud and I was happy, but that didn't last very long because then I got into my head and I said to myself, well, I didn't actually really achieve half a marathon because I ran next to my friend. And so in my head I was like, oh, it doesn't really count. It will count when I do it again next week for fun by myself to prove I can actually do it. And at the time, which was only a couple of weeks ago that I did it, I genuinely believed that. I genuinely believed that I hadn't achieved the half marathon because I ran next to someone else. I have since changed my beliefs, of course, and now I just laugh at that. Like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've probably ever said. Of course I still ran half a marathon. I took every step by myself. I made the decision on my own to do it. I trained for it for 10 weeks. I ran half a marathon and I need to be so proud of myself for that. And yeah, I ruined all the excitement of it because I got into my head and told myself that it didn't count, which is just crazy. Like, I cannot believe that was my mindset before. Like, I actually can't believe that. So that's just a bit of a wake-up call for myself. And if I constantly remind myself of that, then anytime I put in fear or doubt that I'm not good enough, I can remember that story and just the craziness of that, because I ran half a marathon and I'm really proud of that. Most people don't do that. And again, with the fire walk at the seminar on day one, you know, we were explained that you won't burn yourself if you stay in this mind and if you do everything correctly, blah, blah, blah. And I actually got a bit of a blister because I guess I was just on a piece of hot coal. They were like 2,000 degrees, by the way, that we had to walk over, and not run, we had to walk over it. And anyways, I got a little bit burned. I must have just stepped on the wrong place at the wrong time, or just, yeah, I don't know, I don't really know. But I got a blister. So I told myself that I had failed the walk. But that's ridiculous because I still walked the whole thing, and most people wouldn't even step onto 2,000 degree hot burning coal. Like, you wouldn't do that if you were in a different state of mind. So I did that, and like, blisters heal. Like, it's almost healed anyway. So it's crazy that I'd, you know, pushed away that entire success just because I got a little burn. Like, oh, I just can't believe how I used to think, honestly. So that was another huge wake-up call. It was like, again, I wasn't taking credit for something amazing. Like, I walked on fire, literally, I can say that. Something else I realized is that I need to have a lot more courage and believe in myself a lot more. So I'm going to be so much kinder to myself and do the things that scare me with courage. And I have a special way of doing that now that I've learned, which is amazing, because that's something, you know, the opposite of fear is really courage. So that's something I'm working on. It's just like facing my fears. And then the last thing I learned is the importance of having a coach in all areas of your life. So I've actually got 3 coaches now. I've got a personal development coach, I've got a personal trainer, and then I'm going to have a business coach, which I'm going to start with. Because if you want to be amazing in an area of your life, you need to be trained by someone who's extraordinary. It's important when I say that, I mean, you can't have a coach that's only great at something, because if they do, for example, with a PT, if they're only great at a PT, that's not the right PT for you, because they're doing that full time and they're only great. You need someone who's outstanding, because you're not, like, I'm not going to be training full time. So I just had to change my camera SD card, it was full. But yeah, if you want to become great in an area of your life, whether it's fitness or health or business or relationships, you need to be coached by someone who's at the very top, because if they're doing that full time and they're at the very top, there's a big chance that you can get quite high up as well. But if you're being coached by a friend or someone who isn't at the very top, then there's no way you can even get near that, because yeah, you're being trained by someone who isn't, if that makes sense. So I really learnt the value in having a coach to guide you, mentor you, and help you along the way and fast track your results, really, because there are success formulas. There is a way to do things. There's a science of achievement. So you need to follow that. And the best way to do that is from someone who is achieving it, really. So I learnt the importance of that, and I can't wait to get started with my coaches. But yeah, I'll end the video here because it's quite long. Basically, loved the seminar. I love Tony Robbins. It was an amazing experience. You meet so many like-minded people. I have so many connections, and we have the most supportive Facebook group and do monthly catch-ups and everything like that. So it's really worth going at least once in your life, and I would do it sooner rather than later because he's like 65 or 60 something years old. I don't know how long he'll do it for, but I'm really grateful I got to experience that because it's life-changing. And even after a week, having already made all these decisions and changes and just feeling so much better and on top of things, it just excites me for what's to come because I believe so much more in all the positive things that are coming my way and the potential that I have. So yeah, it was amazing, and I would highly recommend for anyone. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it because it really supports my channel, and subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already because I post new videos all the time and I'd love to have you with me on my journey. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Bye!